Hey guys, John V here from PhoneArena. Right now you're watching a video comparison between the Google Nexus 10 and the Microsoft Surface RT. It's Microsoft versus Google in this comparison video. Google Nexus 10, it stands out for its $400 price point, its super sharp high resolution display, and all the comforts of the Android 4.2 Jelly Bean experience. In contrast, the Surface RT, it's a newcomer in the market. It features Windows RT, Microsoft's new tablet-optimized platform, and you get some cool things with it too. A nice industrial design that's stylish. On top of that, you have a kickstand, a micro SD card slot, even a full-size USB port, which are items you don't typically tend to find with devices nowadays. So here we go. Let's get started. Between the two, there's more of a stylish element going on with the Surface's design, so it becomes a little bit more favorable than the Nexus 10. You could tell with their overall sizes, kind of similar in overall footprint, but the Nexus 10 on paper is technically thinner and slightly lighter than its rival, but it's hardly noticeable. They're both still a little bit unwieldy to hold with one hand, so two-handed operations required. With the Nexus 10, we definitely like its design. It's very modest, considering its price point. It has a very clean finish, thanks to the rubbery soft touch casing it has to offer. But on the other hand, the Surface really stands out just because it has that tapered edges around its sides and has some very premium quality elements to its construction. You have this magnesium composite called Vapor Mag that Microsoft utilizes. Gives it a very nice sleek appearance, very clean too. And at the same time, it's also nice that the Surface employs a kickstand as well, something you don't typically see integrated with most tablets. There's no arguing about it, folks, but the Nexus 10 has the superior display, not only for its higher resolution, but its better outdoor visibility and its wow factor thanks to its vibrancy. Now, it's a 10-inch display on the Nexus 10 versus a slightly larger 10.6-inch one in the Surface, but the difference is just in their resolution, and it's quite noticeable as soon as we look at the two displays. The Nexus 10 has a resolution of 2560 by 1600 versus 1366 by 768 on the Surface. So the pixel density equates to 300 pixels per inch on the Nexus 10 versus 146 on the Surface RT. When you take a look at the web browser, when you look at something that has more fine details, for example, the fine text here in a zoomed out view, it's quite evident that the Nexus 10's superior resolution is just significant here. It has just a better sharpness with its details versus the slightly fuzzier tones exhibited by the Surface here. But beyond that too, it's just the color reproduction. We definitely like the vibrancy going on with the Nexus 10 display. It just really has that added wow factor. The viewing angles are the same, but we notice that the brightness output is stronger too with the Nexus 10, so it makes it also better for outdoor visibility. So below the screen of the Surface, we have the capacitive start button, which brings us back to the start screen. And on the Nexus 10, it just has a blue notification light that pulsates whenever we get notifications. Meanwhile, above the displays, we have their front-facing cameras. It's a 1 megapixel one in the Surface, which has the ability to shoot videos in 720p, versus the slightly larger 1.9 megapixel camera on the Nexus 10, which has also the ability to shoot HD videos. Taking a look at some of the ports that both tablets offer. When it comes to charging, the Surface utilizes a proprietary magnetic docking connection here. So if you lose the cable, the wall charger, unfortunately you have to call up and order a new one. You can't typically just use a different cable that you might have lying around. On the Google Nexus 10, utilizes the more favorable micro USB port, so you get charging data connectivity with that. They both have 3.5mm headset jacks. They also have stereo speakers left and right, and they also have micro HDMI outputs for video out functionality, which is great. But with the Surface, you have the added benefit of a full-size USB port, so you connect a variety of different peripherals, such as a mouse, a keyboard, even a flash drive to even increase its capacity. And rounding things out, if you take a look at the bottom of both tablets, they actually have specific docking connection ports, so you can connect a variety of different accessories. With the Surface, of course, you could pick up the touch covers or the type covers. That's going to obviously increase the amount you have to pay, but you have that functionality as well. And finally, with the Surface, you have that kickstand, as you mentioned already, but also packs a very useful micro SD card slot, so it can continue to increase its storage capacity. And finally, in the rear, we spot their cameras. On the Surface, it's a paltry 1 megapixel fixed focus camera on there, no LED flash. Whereas with the Google Nexus 10, something more substantial on there. It's a 5 megapixel camera with LED flash. As far as video capture is concerned, the Nexus 10 has it with its 1080p video recording versus only 800p found with the Surface RT. Obviously, the biggest differentiator between the two are their platform experiences, and considering that Android has been around for quite some time, it's more mature and has a lot more features than its rival in Windows RT on the Surface. Now, they have very specific presentations with the Surface here, and Windows RT, it heavily relies on very dynamic-looking live tiles, which really stands out. It aggregates a bunch of different content, information directly from the start screen here. On the other hand, the Nexus 10 and its Android 4.2 Jelly Bean experience offers those widgets which have been typical with Android. Very useful too. You get a lot of information directly from the home screen and even the lock screen as well. But overall, for power users, we have to say that the Nexus 10's experience is by far much better than the Windows RT experience on the Surface. Not only do you have a better notification system in play, on top of that, they have other secondary features like Google Now to really make it a complete experience. On the other hand, the Windows RT experience, it has a higher learning curve out of the box because it's a new platform, but has some very neat tricks of its own too, which is nice, but it still needs some additional time to really make it a versatile platform. When it comes to processing power, these two tablets are sporting different chips. On the Surface RT, it's powered by a quad-core 1.3 GHz NVIDIA Tegra 3 processor with 2 GB of RAM, while on the Google Nexus 10, it's powered by a dual-core 1.7 GHz Samsung Exynos processor with also 2 GB of RAM. Now, honestly, the performance are very similar to one another, very fluid and quick with almost all operations. So whether it's gaming, some basic tasks like opening up applications, a little bit of photo editing, where you notice that they both exhibit the same likable response with everything. Seeing that these are full-size tablets we're dealing with, there's no problems when it comes to actually typing up text with the respective on-screen keyboards. Of course, the landscape options are better just because it provides us for that natural feel similar to any other keyboard or standard keyboard out there. Spacious layout, on top of that, super responsive. But as far as their portrait options are concerned, it's a little bit cramped because our thumbs have to really stretch out to encompass the entire layout. But they have their own remedies. With the Nexus 10, you have the swipe-like method in place. And alternatively, on the Surface RT, you have two options available. You have the split-style keyboard and even a handwriting recognition one. You really can't go wrong with the web browsing experience here, just because there's so much to like about their performance. So with the two, they do exhibit some pretty fast performances, but we just noticed a slighter tighter control with the Surface RT in regards to pinch zooming and kinetic scrolling, but it's not vastly superior. Aside from that, they have really fast page loads and proper rendering, so complex pages have no problems whatsoever. But we do notice that the Nexus 10's higher resolution display just adds a lot more sharpness than the Surface RT, which just looks a little bit more garbled from a zoomed out view. Also, there's a lot to like about their respective music players just because they sport some snazzy looking layouts. With the Nexus 10, it relies on the usual Google Play Music application, and what stands most from it is of course the 3D carousel effect in play as you're browsing through your album collection. And with the Surface RT, of course, it just has that very dynamic look, which is the approach that the entire platform is going with. But as far as the audio quality, we have to give it slightly to the Nexus 10, primarily because the positioning of its speakers. As you're holding a tablet, the speakers are positioned on the left and right edges, so it's facing towards you, so better dispersion of the audio and stronger. Whereas with the Surface, its speakers are on the left and right edges, which is going sideways, so it doesn't do as good of a job. Well, there's no surprise that these two tablets are more than equipped to playing high-definition videos, and as you can tell, it has a really good fast playback with no issues whatsoever on both of them. But we'd have to go with the Nexus 10 just because of its more vibrant-looking display, especially with the colors. It just really jumps out and attracts our attention. Here's Here's the deal when it comes to taking photos with these two tablets. It's a 5 megapixel camera on the Nexus 10 versus the 1 megapixel camera on the Microsoft Surface RT, and the biggest noticeable thing is just pure details. You get muddy looking tones with the Surface RT versus the sharper, more distinct visuals put out by the Nexus 10. That's honestly the biggest thing that we notice. We also see a little bit of color saturation associated with the Surface RT, but in low lighting conditions, again, the advantage goes to the Nexus 10 just because it has that LED flash to compensate things. Likewise, we're going to have to side with the Nexus 10 when it comes to recording high-definition videos. It's up to 800p on the Surface RT versus 1080p on the Nexus 10. And the biggest standout, of course, is again just the slightly sharper-looking details produced by the Nexus 10 versus the very indistinct and dull ones with the Surface RT. But as a whole, the two are actually very underwhelming. Battery life isn't a concern with either, just because their fully charged batteries put out close to 2 days of normal usage in our case, which is nice, and of course that's better than average with most things. In the end, we still have to commend Microsoft for a valiant effort with the Surface RT. There are some things I like about it. For example, it has that stylish industrial design that really stands out amongst the crop out there, and also packs some features you don't commonly find with tablets. For example, you have dual cameras, you have a full-size USB port, and you have also a kickstand, which comes into play if you're watching videos. And on top of that, it has that cool factor with it, with the touch and type covers it has to offer. But the Windows RT experience really needs some tweaking to make it a very, very complete platform experience. On the other hand, the Google Nexus 10 might not have as a stunning design compared to its rival, but it's very solid nonetheless. But the more important part about it is just the platform experience. So with Android 4.2 Jelly Bean, it's just deeper, more comprehensive. You have a lot more personalization and really adheres to the needs of power users. Combined with its beefy specs like that 1080p display, and of course that phenomenal pricing, it's $100 less than the Surface RT, $500 for Microsoft's tablet versus $400 for the Google Nexus 10. There's just a lot of value found with the Nexus 10 overall. So if you'd like to learn more about both tablets, guys, you can check out our website, PhoneArena.com. This is John V. Thanks for watching.